Dear students, now we are moving to the last part of circulatory system, that is the working of heart or the mechanism of the circulation of blood in circulatory system of calotes vesica. So let's move. We know that the heart is a pumping organ. So its walls are able to contract as well as relax for making the pumping easy. So the pumping of heart generally involves the regular as well as rhythmic heartbeat. How the heartbeat is formed? It's generally formed by means of the alternative contraction as well as relaxation of heart walls. ഈ ഹാർട്ട് ബീറ്റ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഉണ്ടാകുന്നത് ഹാർട്ട് വോൾസ് ഉണ്ട്. ഹാർട്ട് വോൾസ് ഏതൊക്കെയാണ്? ഓറിക്കിൾസും വെൻട്രിക്കിൾസും. ഓറിക്കിൾസും വെൻട്രിക്കിൾസും കോൺട്രാക്ട് ചെയ്യുമ്പോഴും റിലാക്സ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോഴാണ് ഹാർട്ട് ബീറ്റ് ഉണ്ടാകുന്നത്. And the contraction of the heart wall is called a systole, while the relaxation of the heart wall is called a diastole. So let's move to the detail of how the heart is getting working for the pumping of blood to various body parts. The first one is called auricular systole. I told you that systole is nothing but it is the contraction of heart walls. So the auricular systole means it is a contraction of auricles. We know that in calotes there is a complete right as well as the left auricles are present due to the presence of an interauricular septum. And during this systole, auricular systole, the blood from both these chambers, that is right as well as the left auricles, will amplify its blood into the corresponding ventricle of that side. Okay, so we know that the right part of this ventricle is mainly concerned with exchanging deoxygenated blood because into this particular area the sino-auricular aperture is open. We know that sino-auricular aperture sinus venosus is a region in which most of the venous blood from the body is generally enters. So here during the systole, that is systolic auricular systole, the venous blood from the right part of the auricle will move into the right part of ventricle and hence the deoxygenated blood from the right auricle is mainly moving into the cava ventrale. Cava ventrale, we know that it is one of the chamber of ventricle. It will move into this cava ventrale and the oxygenated blood from the dorsal from the left ventricle to the cavum dorsalis. So oxygenated blood from here, it will move into the cavum dorsalis. Okay. So what happens during auricular systole? The deoxygenated from the right part is moved into the cavum ventrale and the oxygenated blood from the left part moves into the cavum dorsalis. So we know that if you are considering the ventricle, we know that in calotes the ventricle is incompletely divided, which means there is no complete interauricular septum is present for differentiating both right and left ventricle. Right interauricular septum structure it is able to differentiate right and left auricle because there is a complete interauricular septum is present in between these two. But we are considering the ventricle. Here it is incompletely divided. That means with the right ventricle, left ventricle and complete divided due to the presence of incompletely divided interventricular septum. So what happens? There occurs the mixing up of blood. We know that this part is mainly, the right part is mainly concerned with the deoxygenated blood and the left part is mainly concerned with the oxygenated blood. So as it is incompletely divided, there occurs the regular mixing of these two different types of blood. So the cava ventralis is generally consists of deoxygenated blood and the cavum arteriosum generally consisting of oxygenated blood and the cavum venosum generally contains both deoxygenated as well as oxygenated blood. So this is actually what happens during auricular systole. Then comes the ventricular systole. What is meant by ventricular systole? Yes, it is the contraction of the ventricular chambers. That means the right as well as left ventricle will begins to contract during ventricular systole. So what happens? The venous blood from the cavum ventrale is moving to the pulmonary artery for aeration into the lungs. So we know that from this right part of this ventricle, a pulmonary artery is generally rising here. So what happens is that whenever this ventricle becomes contract, from the right part, it is mainly consisting of the deoxygenated blood. It will move into the pulmonary artery, and this pulmonary artery will move into the lungs for oxygenation. Okay, then what happens? The arterial blood from the cavum arteriosum passes into the right systemic part. So this is mainly, I just told you the right side. What happens in the left side? Left side is mainly concerned with the pumping oxygenated blood from left auricle to left ventricle. So during the contraction of this left ventricle, ഇവിടെ ഈ ventricle contract ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് the oxygenated blood from this cavum arteriosum passes into the right systemic arch. We know that the right systemic arch and left systemic arch is the right systemic arch is mainly concerned with the providing oxygenated blood to the anterior part of the body that we have seen in the arterial system, right? So the oxygenated blood from this cavum arteriosum moves into the right systemic arch for passing the oxygenated blood into the head culture. And how it is possible? Through the calotes. I have already told you that there is a ductus caroticus is a connective is present in the right as well as in the left systemic trunk or arch, and they are generally concerned with transmitting this blood. Okay. In lizards and amphibians, the pulmonary and systemic circulation are not completely separated from each other. So as the ventricular portion is incomplete, they mix together in the ventricles. So this is called incomplete circulation. Actually, as the ventricle is incompletely divided, there occurs a regular mixing of this deoxygenated as well as the oxygenated blood. We can say that this is not a complete double circulation. This is actually an incomplete double circulation. Double circulation in the sense that it involves both the pulmonary circulation and the systemic circulation. Pulmonary circulation is nothing but it generally consists with the pumping of deoxygenated blood from this right part of ventricle into the pulmonary artery, and which enters into the lungs for purification. And after the purification is over, the oxygenated blood enters into the left auricle by means of pulmonary vein. This is called a pulmonary circulation. And systemic circulation is nothing but here from the left part of the ventricle, the oxygenated blood will move into the systemic arch for or right systemic arch for moving into the for passing all the oxygenated blood to different part of the body. So this is called a systemic circulation. From left ventricle, the oxygenated blood enters into a different part of the body through the systemic arch. So this pulmonary as well as the systemic circulation generally constituting the double circulation. As it the ventricle is incompletely divided, we can say that this is called an incomplete double circulation. Okay, so we can just summarize the mechanism of circulation as like this. From the systemic arch, that is from the right as well as in the left systemic arch, the venous blood enters into the, and by means of the venous blood from the different part of the body enters into the sinus venosus, and by means of the sino-auricular aperture it opens with all the venous blood enters into the right auricle, and from the right auricle through auricular ventricular aperture it enters into the right ventricle, that is cavum pulmonale, and from the right ventricle it moves into the pulmonary artery or pulmonary arch for passing this deoxygenated blood to lungs for purification. And after the purification is over, from the lungs the pulmonary vein originates, and the pulmonary vein will carry the oxygenated blood to left auricle. And from the left auricle through left auricular ventricular aperture it enters into the left ventricle, that is cavum dorsale, and from the left ventricle the right systemic arch and the left systemic arch will develop, or it will originate, it will passes all this oxygenated blood to different part of the body. So this is the mechanism of a circulation of blood that is starting from sinus venosus and it again enters into the sinus venosus itself. So this is a circulatory pathway. I hope you understood. If you have any doubt, please join the comment section. Thank you.